you for your service, and thank you for being here today. We know that the FCC has played a critical role in addressing the critical needs that we've talked a lot about today. Certainly during COVID, it's just been essential. Some of the things we've learned that impact the decisions, that are impacted by the decisions that you've made. Looking forward, our largest opportunity, I've heard a lot of conversation about it, obviously, is the RDOF program, which will provide funding over the next decade. According to the FCC, under RDOF, West Virginia has over 128,000 eligible locations. I heard you mention West Virginia in one of your answers, Mr. Chairman, so I appreciate that in your visits to West Virginia. And it's imperative that as many census blocks are eligible for this funding as possible. And I'm concerned about this. So I would ask you, Mr. Chairman, as you're looking at the process of the challenges that have been made on certain census blocks and where the distribution of the money is going to be, it's important that we do it effectively and efficiently. So as you continue to look at this auction process, will you commit to scrutinizing the challenges in the RDOF eligible location process?
Yes, Senator, we will.
And are you in the midst of doing that now? And when do you expect that you will, I'm sure it's an revolving decision.
Yes, it is an ongoing process, but I can tell you that the list of eligible areas is scheduled to be published by July 1st, which is when the short form application window opens. And so we're in the final stages now. We should have results on this front very soon.
Thank you. One of the areas I've been concerned about of past programs is the transparency and accountability of actual delivery of what's been promised. How do you expect under this new auction or this increased auction aimed at rural America, how are we going to get better at the transparency and accountability of this?
A critical question. That all the taxpayer money in the world doesn't make a difference if the providers who get it don't use it appropriately. And that's why for this auction, the RDOF in particular, winning bidders will have to enter geocoded locations where they've provided deployments into what's called the hub, the high-cost broadband database, essentially. In addition to that, USAC will verify and audit that information to make sure that providers have, in fact, done what they've said they're going to do. On top of that, later on, the networks will be subject to drive testing and other rigorous speed and latency verification. And if they fail on any of these scores, then ultimately what happens is the providers will have support withheld. They may have to pay support they've received back and may face other enforcement action, because we want to make sure, again, that those 128,000 locations in West Virginia, places like Cape and Springs and Clay and Clendenin, they deserve funding and they deserve deployment.
Well, I would encourage enforcement, because we can say we're going to do things, but if we don't enforce it, it's not going to. It's a toothless enforcement mechanism. Commissioner O'Reilly, I want to thank you for working with us in addressing the diversion of the 911 fees. I know it's been an issue that West Virginia was labeled as a fee diverter, and it was impacting our abilities to have these issues resolved. So we are now eligible in the much needed next generation 911 funding. So I just wanted to thank you personally for that. Commissioner Carr, you came to West Virginia with the Connected Care Initiative. Boy, if we'd known then, where we are now, it's an amazing, West Virginia University just now got a grant to be able to expand their telehealth services. So here's what I'm concerned about. I don't want to see us do the same thing we do with EMRs. So we've got a telehealth initiative that's going across the country, but we don't have the ability for all of our health providers to be able to be on the same page. Do you imagine that through Connected Care and other initiatives that you're going to be able to have really broad-based, I don't want to say regulations, but best practices, so that we don't come back in 5 years and go, well, that's great, but the radiologist can't talk to the cardiologist, the rural can't talk to the urban. How do you see that playing out as you both what you've done through COVID, but also through your Connected Care initiative that I know you very much are committed to?
Well, Senator, thank you so much for your leadership on telehealth. When I joined you last summer out in West Virginia, that's actually when we rolled out our proposal that, little did we know, turned into this COVID-19 telehealth program. So it was great that we were out there doing the legwork that's paid off.
By the way, they've used the telestroke initiative. Actually, it wasn't a fake person,
right?
A real person, and actually had great results.
That's wonderful to see. And I think West Virginia facilities have now received somewhere over $2 million already. We have more money that we have to process. I think there's going to be some important lessons learned, perhaps the one that you flagged already. We're going to have another follow-on Connected Care pilot program. That's going to be a 3-year pilot that's going to run sort of after this emergency COVID one does. So I think there's going to be lessons that we can carry over to that. And frankly, I think the government generally has done a great job. If you look at what HHS has done in terms of updating some of the licensing, reimbursement issues.
Right.
I think those are gains that we need to maintain as we power out of this COVID-19 pandemic, because I think this connectivity and telehealth is the future. It improves patient outcomes and drives down costs at the same time.
Well, just anecdotally, in talking with folks who've had telehealth visits, and both on the provider side and on the patient side, they seem to really like it. The convenience of it, the ability to be more efficient, and it's not going to work in every instance, obviously. And so I think really the face of medicine is going to change through this, and I look forward to working with you on this. And thank you.
Thanks.